Call this meeting to order. My name is Jose Alonso. I am currently the president of the Board of Elections. Can I please have the commissioners, starting from my left, introduce themselves?
Ron Castorina, Richmond County Republican.
Michael Rendino, Bronx County Republican.
Simon Schwinn, Kings Republican.
Frederick Humane, Manhattan Republican.
Michael Michelle, Queens Republican.
Alan Silken, Manhattan Dem.
John Flato, Kings County Democrat.
Bianca Perez, Bronx Democrat.
Marie Costello, Richmond Democrat.
Executive staff.
Michael Ryan, Executive Director.
Joan Sandell, Deputy Executive Director.
Pamela Perkins, Administrative Manager.
Nina M. Crispino, Director of Personnel.
Dennis Moulton, Council for Commissioners.
Stephen Dankberg, Council.
Rob Assington, Deputy General Counsel.
All right, does anyone want to add anything to the agenda?
Yes, I would.
Commissioner?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to create a new executive management position entitled Director of Operations. The salary of said position to be equivalent to an administrative manager's position, and that individual be hired, the individual to be hired be Georgia Consummatus.
Is the title Operations Manager?
I'm sorry, Operations Manager.
Is there a second to that application? Second. I know everyone's checked today a copy of our resume. The motion's been made, it's been seconded. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain?
Abstain.
The motion carries. Anyone else want to add anything to the agenda?
Just in terms of personnel, for executive session, there are a number of Manhattan personnel matters.
The Bronx has one as well.
Richmond as well.
Okay. According to section 3-2121 of the New York State election law, the commissioners elected by the board officers of the year 2014, is there a motion to designate a new president for 2015? Motion has been made by Commissioner Humane. Is there a second? All in favor?
I had a 10-minute speech about the qualifications of the...
Well, we know the qualifications of Commissioner Michelle.
But despite that, I'm asking you to vote for them.
All in favor?
I wanted to hear the speech.
Aye. Anybody opposed or abstain? The motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to appoint a secretary?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
And who do you wish to designate?
Commissioner Bianca Perez.
I'll second that motion. Anybody, all in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries. Congratulations, Secretary Perez, and I now, I turn the gavel over to the new president, even though it has my name on it.
Thank you. I don't even have to change seats.
That's right. No, it's set up though.
There you go.
The Republicans are on the left.
We're on the right when you're facing, we're facing, for the people out there, we're on the right.
Right, we're on the right side.
We're always right.
That's correct.
You got yours right there. Yep.
Let's see. Okay, welcome everybody.
Don't look at me anymore.
How did you get your chair back?
The VIP seat.
How did you get the VIP seat?
That's a secret.
Remember, that's my
Stadium seat.
Well, welcome everybody. Happy New Year to everybody. Sorry for the delay on today. On the agenda we have designation of committee members for the 2015 year. We have been circulating it. Has anybody?
Give us a moment.
Mr. President, I'd like to be on the ballot layout committee.
Yeah, I would like to be on budget and finance.
I would like to be on the ballot layout committee as well.
If there's another room for another dem, I'd like that. Oh,
Well, on the ballot committee, I would also like to serve because of Queens. Queens has the most difficult ballots. Unfortunately, we have 5 different ones with the languages and all. I would also like to be on that. And So
Commissioner Flato, 3 committees, Budget and Finance, Voter Registration, and Legislative Affairs.
Now,
Should the commissioners so desire.
I'd like to be on legislative affairs with Commissioner Plateau, if that's okay.
all right,
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we email them all to the executive management, and then we can bring it up at the next meeting and put them all together. This way, we're going back and forth, and
right
it's
now,
easier that we all email them over the ones what we would like to go on.
are the commissioners satisfied with the present committee designations? Because I know that there was some discussion about perhaps at least renaming the investigations committee and maybe.
Okay, so why don't you bring all that and email it out, and then we can bring it up at the next meeting?
Well,
You know,
yes, I just was trying to get some feedback from the commissioners on if there's anything that they have a specific objection to, maybe they could just let us know, even if they let us know offline. Otherwise, we'll leave it status quo.
Okay.
Yep.
So anybody have any suggestions about a different committee, or renaming a committee, or different responsibilities? Let's get it to the executive management, and then they'll circulate it to all of us.
So that's tabled for the next meeting. Correct?
Okay, the minutes for 2014, 12/16, 2014, has everybody read it? Have a motion?
Move their adoption, Mr. Chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, you're up, Mike.
I am. Well, the agenda indicates post-election update, but I would like to briefly address something that is not necessarily a post-election update, maybe it's a pre-election update. There is, as some of you may have heard, there is a vacancy as of yesterday in a congressional seat in Staten Island, the 11th Congressional District. And there is some discussion, and there is it's not a cut and dry scenario as to the timing of when the governor must call a special election. It is clear, however, that pursuant to the United States Constitution, that the governor must call a special election. The timing of the special election is ultimately the subject of a larger discussion. All of that will play out within the ambit of the governor's discretion, and certainly today at 2:30, I think we need to be very sensitive to the fact that the governor and his family are laying former Governor Cuomo to rest today. So certainly nothing that we do here in any way, shape, or form compares to the weight that the Cuomo family is bearing today. So in any event, just for general acknowledgement, would be roughly, if a special were held, roughly 122 poll sites. And of course that would require staff and the logistics, all of the logistics associated with putting on an election. And our top end guesstimate at this point is that cost in a standalone special, if the election were not folded within another election event, would be approximately $1 million. Until we had a date and were able to really put together an operational plan, we wouldn't be able to say at this moment what efficiencies vis-a-vis potential combines of election districts and perhaps consolidation of polling places, etc., that might be able to be done to create some efficiency and reduce that number somewhat. But clearly the number would not be reduced to nothing. It would be a substantial six-figure, without a doubt, six-figure event, upper six figures. So our guesstimate is in the $960,000 to $1 million range, but certainly could go down from there once a formal plan was put into place. So that takes care of the special election. With respect to the last election cycle, there's been some attention to poll workers having not been quote-unquote paid in a timely manner, what we have found out is that of the over 30,000 poll workers that we processed payroll for, we had 102 that were not paid in that first wave of payment. The reason that that occurred was through no fault of the Board of Elections, and really no fault of anyone. Some folks come to the table having a city identification number, whether it be through city employment or as a result of having received some city services. We did get some hardship requests for people that actually were in desperate need of their payment. We were able to, and it was primarily Ms. Sandow, who worked diligently to get, along with the Department of Finance, to make sure, our internal Department of Finance, I should say, to make sure that these folks got emergency checks or special checks so that they can get paid in advance of the holidays for those people that have, financial hardship. But what really happened here is that because of all of the city contracts that were being settled, and the need to manually input all of that data into NICAPS, the Office of Payroll Administration shut down NICAPS, and that eliminated, I should say, our ability to process those folks that had prior city identification numbers. We couldn't get into the system to access the information. So once that moratorium was lifted by NICAPS, then the remainder of those checks were able to be processed. And as of the most recent report, we still have some individuals who are waiting for additional job clearance through NICAPS. We have 7 in New York County, 1 in the Bronx, 8 in Kings, and 7 in Queens. And then we also have an additional number of poll workers who are in the current payroll that are due to get paid, and that would be 2 out of New York County, 9 out of Kings, and 1 out of Queens. So we have processed, more than 99% of all of the payroll, and we certainly do not want to withhold any money from anyone for any longer than it needs to be. But this is part of the process on occasion, and unfortunately, we had a large number of contracts being settled, and OPA can only do their, what they can do, and they had to institute this blackout so that the contracts could be put in, for the city workers. With respect to the Department of Personnel, we're in the process of reevaluating the guidelines and completing new guidelines for the completion of performance evaluations. Managers will be going to a one-day workshop in the general office as well as the borough office to assist them with completing the new performance evaluations. And the second phase of that is going to be more along the lines of a life skills and a coaching session to teach or to reiterate to our managers some more effective management strategies with dealing with personnel and personnel issues. So we have that coming up in the new year. Miss Crispino is putting her social work skills to work. She's very much in favor of these types of implementations. I think she's right. I think she's on the right track. And our performance evaluations will begin the first week of February, and they will be due to be completed March the 6th. It is, to move forward, you have to look backwards sometimes, and I think that that was an area that there was some criticism of the agency about in the past. We have certainly taken steps to correct it. Last year, we made a good first step in the right direction, and I think with some of the efforts that Ms. Crispino is doing, this process will continue to improve. And I also think that the training that the managers are looking to, that we're looking to have the managers do, will give the manager's buy-in to the true stated purpose of evaluations, which is a management tool. It's not simply to check some boxes off on a piece of paper and stick it into a personnel file. It's really to be able to effectively evaluate the staff, not by way of criticism necessarily, because criticism has a pejorative connotation, but in a way to effectively construct a better employee. Department of Finance, City Time has been successfully implemented in all 4 boroughs, and Brooklyn will be completed as of February 1st, 2005. There was a 2005, I said?
Yeah.
All right, we're going backwards, we're time travelers now.
You were just looking back, so you know,
Matter of fact, we've been using City Time since 2005, nobody knew. No, actually 2015, you're right, thank you for the correction. Again, there was a moratorium from the implementation because the training sessions were shut down from the second week of December through the second week of January. So we're going to be about a month ultimately behind schedule on that. And again, this was an area where we received quite a bit of criticism. But when you think about the fact that we basically, as an agency, the commissioners said go ahead and do this. I think it was the end of June or the early part of July, and we had some election events in the middle of all of that, and we're going to be missing our target by only about 30 days, and that's only in 1 borough. That means we got the central office and 4 boroughs fully implemented into electronic payroll keeping system known as City Time. I think that speaks very well of the staff cooperation on the borough levels, but certainly the implementation abilities of the Director of Finance in particular, as well as I know you got some help from, that would be Jerry Sullivan, and I know we got some help from the Department of Personnel and also facilities management. I mean, there was quite a bit of infrastructure work that had to be done, wiring and such, that had to be done in order for these electronic hand scanning devices to be deployed in each of the 5 boroughs. The other good thing about that is, and Steve Sullivan's not here, and Steve Ferguson's not here today, right? All right. Is he? He was here? All right. I have been told, and I'm going to say it publicly again, the good thing about City Time, in addition to the more accurately capturing the time, is the infrastructure that was implemented to install the City Time devices allows us now to move forward with web conferencing in all of the borough offices. So we have the equipment, and there'll be a schedule established so that we'll be able to more effectively deal with the boroughs and web conference. The next piece of that, which is separate but unrelated from a tech perspective, is moving forward with the webcasting of the commissioners' meetings. So that's going to happen. So, without even intentionally doing it, I rolled right from finance into MIS, and that was my first bullet point on MIS, which was the webcasting, so we did that. Avid 5, which is our voter registration system. We're into MIS right now. We're doing an architectural upgrade of the client workstation that will be used by the borough staff for all the new tools that are going to be available for the voter registration system. I do not have all of the details on that, not because I don't want to, but my demonstration is scheduled for tomorrow. So I'll be able to provide more detail about that at the next meeting. But the upgrades are substantial, and one of the things that it's going to allow is they are building within that an ability to train people on data entry. In the past, given the rigidity of the system, the only way to do the data entry was to do it live. and I think that that led to some potential problems over the course of time. But now, we're going to be able to set up for new employees coming in, mock data entry, so that they can do the data entry for the voter registration system without having it affect the database. They'll be able to practice before they're actually doing live voters, or live potential voters. So that, I think, is going to, over the course of time, lead to better list maintenance. So we have user list maintenance, voter roll lists, various activity codes, reasons for escalation, all of this being done with a view towards a more accurate maintenance of voter, the voter rolls and the voter registration department. And all of that, Avid 5 will be demonstrated to me, and I believe to Dawn, and I don't know who else is coming to that meeting, do we know? Me and you at least, Pam's coming, right? And we'll get that demonstration tomorrow, and the final testing will be completed and it'll be rolled out, you know, by the end of the month.
Successful.
Right, if successful. And the idea is to time that along with what we're anticipating the new state voter registration form, so it all should dovetail nicely.
Right, we're waiting on that.
We have compiled a list, which, Dawn, this wasn't handed out, right? I mean,
No, it's 86.
right. Because I know that, and certainly we could provide this to you, Commissioner Flateau. Commissioner Flateau has certainly been concerned, not that the other commissioners aren't, but he's been more vocal about voter registration drives. And we compiled a list, we can certainly share it with folks. Our agency had 86 voter registration events last year, commencing on April 18th, 2014, and ending on September 14th, 2014. And I know that there's Mr. Kapitanakis is in the audience. You'll be happy to know, Mr. Kapitanakis, that the last one we did was at the Holy Trinity St. Nicholas Church at the Greek Fair last year.
So nothing's gonna go wrong.
That's it. And, you know, so we do quite a bit of voter outreach. It's mostly dovetailed within other events, so we don't quite get the credit, necessarily public credit for doing it, because we're going to somebody else's event and then setting up a table. It's not our event, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. It is happening, and I think we certainly could do more, but I also think that we need to be a better advocate for ourselves about the work that we're doing. So I thank you, Commissioner Flateau, for bringing it up and giving us this opportunity to have a little bit of an advertisement. I think that's it for me, unless anybody had any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Director, for that report. Progress on our 2014 annual report submission to the State Board of Elections. Is that how we doing there? And I'd be interested in your and the commissioners' insights on some new legislation apparently recently introduced, or about to be introduced at the City Council with regards to early voting and how that might impact agencies.
With respect,
If that were to come.
with respect to the with respect to the annual report, the various units that are required to provide information are in the process of gathering that information and completing that report. I will say this, that although there was a quote-unquote deadline of December 31st, I believe, that the state imposed upon us.
We got the fifth change on
Yeah.
December 31st.
There was yet another amendment to the request and asking for additional information. You know, we're doing our best to get it done. I'm, you know.
I just want to say that the majority of it is finished, although they wanted information on the 31st. Our voter reg department, if we're waiting until the 5th to make sure that we have everything, all the information completed. To send something on the 31st, it would not have been accurate, and we would have had to make revisions to it. So that's what we're waiting.
You know, and one of the things that along the lines of what Ms. Sandow said, one of the things that I think has been a problem in the past is the timing of the request. It's immediately post-election. Keep in mind that we black out our employees' annual leave from July through December, and they can't take vacation when we have election events, and that's right from petitions up through certification. There's no other agency in the city of New York that tells their employees that they can't take off for 6 months. You might have agencies that tell them that you can't earn any overtime for 6 months, and there's overtime moratoriums all over the place, but there's no agency that tells people they can't take off, the entire staff can't take off for 6 months. So, you know, we got to give them something, and once the certification is done, and one of the advantages of getting a certification done prior to Thanksgiving, which is what we always strive for, is so that once the Thanksgiving holiday hits, these people that have been working very diligently can use some of the annual leave that they've earned and spend some time with their family that they've been away from, you know, for 6 months while they're prepping for elections. So, you know, all of that has to be acknowledged within the context of that. And then on top of that, you know, the managers are in the same boat as the workers. So, you know, while a unit staff might be compiling information, if the manager's on vacation, they don't want to let that information go to executive without their manager appropriately checking it. And I think in the past, and Ms. Sandow could speak to this much better than I can, but in the past what's happened is information has gone to the state, and it hasn't been right or it's been incomplete, and then we've had to do multiple amendments to our submission. So rather than do that, what we're endeavoring to do is to have all the information compiled completely, and then have that go all in one shot, and then, you know, with grace, perhaps it's we make one submission as opposed to 7.
You have a question. As far as election day operations, how many, if you know the information offhand, how many poll workers will be short? And do we have a remedy to get more poll workers?
Well, we're always short poll workers, you know, and that's why we have the standby pool. So we had, what, about 6,000 in the standby pool, I think this time, right? It was about more or less, whatever. And it got us up to about the number that we needed. What we did this particular go-round, which was, again, I know how much he loves to be, put the spotlight on him, Commissioner Shimon. He's always, you know, trying to get himself out there. But he suggested, and I think it was a great suggestion that worked out very well, that perhaps we use the robocalls. The prospective poll workers got to hear my melodious voice suggesting to them that they perform an act of civic duty. But it did work, and what we did was, pardon? No, they wrote a script for me and I stuck to it. My extemporaneous talk is usually longer than my script reading. And Mr. Kapitanakis has agreed. What about you? You're smiling over there. Yeah, I'm looking, yeah, no. Daily News. So, in any event, the robocalls were effective. We did it, we didn't do it citywide, but we did it in places where the borough officers told us they were anticipating shortfalls. We also did it with respect to interpreters and such as well. So the first go-round in the primary was just poll workers, and it was a little bit more limited. And then once the borough officers got comfortable with the feedback that they were getting, it went to the next round in the general election, and we did it, you know, more broadly. I envision that it will be part of the fabric of what we do moving forward, and I think that the way that we're doing it, i.e. getting specific requests for either election districts or assembly districts from borough officers, relying on the staff that knows the neighborhoods and the areas the best, is probably the best way to do it. because it's relatively easy. They give me a script, I read it into the phone, there's a code, it gets established with a callback number for a particular borough, and then I move on to the next. I did all 5 boroughs, I think, in under 10 minutes. It's really not a big deal.
You did 5 boroughs in 10 minutes? I just want to make sure I heard that.
Because it was a script. If you guys write a script for me, I can read it and leave too, you know?
Commissioner Shulkin, also, all of our registration events, we also have all our applications. So we also not only are getting registrations, we're also getting applications for poll workers. We now do it, we have our staff go out with tablets, so it's automatically done on a tablet. They don't even have to fill out the form, and we can send it directly to BDO. Some people are more comfortable filling out the paperwork, so we do take it with us. But every registration event that we did, we also do poll worker recruitment.
Have we explored split shifts and raising the rates for poll workers?
I believe there was split shifts done in
Right,
Brooklyn.
We haven't received any report on,
And we hope to expand the
Yeah.
experiment, by the way, commissioners,
Just rolling off.
share with our colleagues.
Yeah, I think the 2015 being, knock on wood, a relatively quiet year as it relates to election events, that as a board and as an agency, this would be a good year and time to try different things, pilot different things. Commissioner Flateau and I piloted split shifts in a couple of poll sites in Brooklyn. I think the feedback we received was overwhelmingly positive, and long-term, that may lend itself to increasing poll workers. After all, the voters, real and overwhelming contact with our agency is with the poll workers for a few minutes, hopefully, and that's what they know. So I think another project this year is to really double down and try to update our poll worker contact lists, almost be obsessive with updating their contact information so that if there are changes or if we need to move people around, that we can communicate with our poll workers in different ways. And so I was happy to try the split shifts with Commissioner Flateau. We've spoken informally about expanding it a little bit this year and taking a baby step and seeing, okay, let's take another step. And over time, they may lend itself to different policies and more poll workers or both. So it'll be a busy year in a quiet year.
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking is 2016 is what I'm concerned about.
Sure.
And I think we're going to have to find a way of getting a lot more poll workers. With 4 major elections coming up, I think that if we don't do it, we'll be in deep trouble.
I think in 2016, what we need to look at is the peak hours. And if we can hire more people just for those peak hours, that would be beneficial. I think that's something that the state board is also discussing as well. And we have our conference with the state board, so we will be, talking to other counties. But it has been said that during peak hours, if we could put extra staff in there, it would be a big help.
As a side point, workers know about the day, they know what they're getting paid, and now there's this kind of idea out there that the day is longer than it used to be. I think we're moving back in the right direction with closing procedures that are simplified so that a poll worker doesn't have to necessarily expect that getting out at 11 o'clock is the new norm. Where it used to be 9:30, that was kind of the ballpark, unless there was an issue. And so hopefully the word is getting out there that the end of the day, or the end of the night, the end of the election day is a little more streamlined, and that may encourage voters to participate. But I think, to the point of the calls, I think the response was pretty good. I don't know, the numbers escape me, but a weekend of calls generated several hundred poll workers.
And the thing is, we're not going to be able to tell you exactly what the number is because we gave the prospective poll workers the option to go to the website, which, if they went to the website, we don't capture them within that data. If they did it on a callback, then clearly that's a hard number. So certainly, whatever numbers we share will will actually have been better than our results would have been better than the numbers we're gonna have. Because we know that some people went to the website.
Yeah, 'cause you've seen a peak.
Right, because you saw people, we're just not gonna be able to say, of these 100 people that went to the website, how many of them went to the website because we gave them a robocall? There's no way for us to know that. The other thing with respect to Commissioner Schultz's second point was pay raise. When we did our budget testimony last year, we asked for a pay raise for the poll workers. We haven't received any budgetary input from either the city council or the mayor's office with respect to any additional monies for the poll workers. But I would like to point out that when you take 30,000 poll workers, every $50 is $1.5 million. Every $50 raise for a poll worker. So if we went from 200 to 250, $1.5 million. So, but it's in the grand scheme of the city budget, it's not a lot, but it's not nothing either. I mean, and that's $1.5 million per citywide election event. So, for example, if you take a year like 2013, it was 1.5 for the primary, 1.5 for the special, 1.5 for the for the general, and if you double that to 100, now it's $3 million in election. So the dollars start to pile up relatively quickly. So whenever that happens, we definitely need the mayor and the city council and such to weigh in on that positively.
Any other questions before we go on executive?
Yeah, a bunch. Just things to add to future agendas. What I would like to see it, we'll do that now.
Well, you could add it, you email them.
I'm gonna do it now.
Okay.
Would it be possible to get, to show us a presentation on the cleaning up of the rolls, what the procedures are for cleaning up the rolls, the legal ramifications, so we can start cleaning them up in our home boroughs at meeting in 2 weeks?
Presentation to clean up the road?
What needs to be done? What are the procedures for doing it? I know some of the rules are
Active, or the
inactive and inactive.
Well, there are procedures that the boroughs have currently now. I know Queens has, I'm sure all the boroughs have the standard rules.
Yeah.
Okay. Buff card project, what's the status of that?
Yay, we're almost done.
Yeah.
I think Manhattan was done. Manhattan's completed with both the buff cards.
I think virtually, I don't know if it's 100%.
Queens is completed.
Yes, they come and pick up the cabinets in Manhattan. So both cards are completed in Manhattan, Queens,
Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, Staten Island.
I don't know if Staten Island was done
I
yet.
think Staten
Staten Island wasn't done.
Yeah.
But Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens were done. Brooklyn, the cabinets that needed to be removed were in fact removed. So we reclaimed quite a bit of real estate. What's happening in the Bronx right now is the borough chief and deputy had to sign off at each borough to the process is such that we have to state that we have complied with the state law, which means that we're going to keep 2 years worth of cards going backwards. And then anything beyond that was kept electronically. Now, keep in mind that there were several versions of electronic capturing of buff cards over the course of time. Matter of fact, those file cabinets in the back that I had removed had some of that information on that. No, they're in a warehouse now appropriately, no longer being stored here in the public hearing room. But in any event, the Bronx County chief and deputy communicated with us, and they wanted to go. They have a very neat, very orderly system in the Bronx, and but they wanted to go through their cards and make a determination because they did a random audit and they weren't so certain that all the procedures maybe were followed in the past. So that's why the Bronx is lagging a little bit behind, but they're not lagging behind as a dereliction of duty. They're lagging behind out of an abundance of caution. So it's moving in the right
Do
direction.
you want to explain also what's going to be put into Abbott for the dupes to avoid dupes?
You could do that.
Okay, I'll do it. Go ahead, you do it. You're gonna take us the short version.
Participate.
You're gonna give us the short version.
To avoid dupes moving forward, Mike came up with an idea and sat down with MIS, and it's gonna be in the new Avid 5, but when registrations are done, and I think they're gonna be able to track by last 4 digits or the motor vehicle ID number, so it'll automatically pull in front of the staff that there is a possible dupe. And also, I think, what is the other system?
Well-
It's gonna go into escalation, and the supervisors are gonna be handling all possible dupes, which will probably bring the supervisors down on the employees
Right.
to ensure that they're actually checking every single, because a majority of mistakes are, I think, the middle initial.
There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. On one registration, there's, somebody put an initial, on the other registration, they didn't, and this time it'll be able to be caught.
You also see too, in some of the high density population areas, where somebody moves, either they had a 3-bedroom apartment because they had children and now their children have moved out and they collapse into a 1-bedroom, or vice versa, they go from a small apartment to a large apartment, they move within the same building. Sometimes we've seen them even on the same floor, which is a different apartment number. Those don't always get caught as a dupe because it's coming in as a new address. So what I instructed MIS to do was come up with an enhanced way to filter out that information. They've done that and they've tested it. But then, once we did that, we realized that the system itself wasn't putting enough of a check in place with respect to this information. So, in other words, if a less than diligent employee didn't do the dupe, they clicked off and they said it was ready to go, and then their counterpart clicked off that it was ready to go, it's in the system. And then what was happening was, now you're creating a real problem because you have 2 VSN numbers. So the person's in the system twice under 2 separate VSNs. The trickle-down effect of that is, now you go to vote. You're in the book twice. Election A, you sign under one name. It's your name. You sign under that one box that has your name. You get voter history on that one. The next election, you sign under the next box. When you come back in, you're getting voter history under a separate VSN. So you're not showing as having voted consistently, but you're also interrupting the potential process to eliminate them from the book, because they're voting alternately under one VSN or the other, and so they're never hitting that cycle to take them out. So, you know.
Hopefully not,
Well, no. But what we did to make that less likely is, if there's a dispute between the dem and the rep in terms of who goes into the system on the employee level, that goes into what we call escalation, where it then requires supervisory intervention to make sure the person gets into the system or doesn't. On these dupes, it will automatically go into escalation. So, if a supervisor is getting way too many dupes, that means that an individual employee is not doing the dupe list check at their level. The theory behind that is, A, it'll prevent dupes from getting into the system, which is our overriding goal, and then B, that the supervisors will get sufficiently annoyed at the employees who are consistently not checking the dupe list, and make sure that they check the dupe list in the future. So it's a management tool. Now the other thing is, just in case it got to a point where we had a crush of applications that we were not able to process at the end, you know, we always get that right up leading up to election day. I had, you know, registrations coming in, I had MIS build into the program an ability to shut that automatic escalation off if necessary at given points in time without having to reprogram the whole thing all over again. So it's an option that's turned on. And then if it got to, you know, the second week of October and we really had to, you know, push things through because we had a big backlog, then MIS could just go in on our direction, shut off the automatic escalation, and let the process get done, so we don't disenfranchise any new voters. But that should hopefully, you know, deal with some of the problem moving forward. But it's a large problem, and I think that I know that there has been a meeting. I don't know how much progress there has been, but there has been some meeting by the state board with the, you know, Eric and to see if there's going to be some help with that filtering process by the state board. But that's going to be a state level decision. It's not going to come from a borough of county level decision. And if the state goes ahead and becomes a participant, then we'll participate in that and we'll get the benefits of it. The good thing about that is if the state does go ahead and participate in the ERIC process, we will no longer have to subscribe to the Social Security Death Master File index list, because that will be included within that whole process. All of that data will be included.
Just so you know, when we went to each borough, after the election, we usually have a chief and deputy meeting, and what Mike and I decided to do was to go directly to the boroughs to meet one-on-one with supervisors.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. It was
After the election, Mike and I and Pam went to each borough to meet one-on-one. Normally what we do is have a chief and deputy meeting where we felt going to the boroughs, sitting with the supervisors, you know, just to meet with the soldiers, the employees that are out there really doing the work and getting their feedback was important. I want you to know that it was the Bronx that brought the idea about checking for the, to have our Avid system automatically run a check on the last 4 digits of the social or the driver ID number, which, you know, that's a big help right there. So I just want you to know that was the Bronx that initiated that. And we're still meeting. What we're doing now, we have met with all 5 boroughs, and we're meeting one-on-one with our managers now to go over any concerns, to go over any changes. But like Mike said, we do have staff that are taking vacation, so it is not complete.
Any other questions? Could I have a motion to go into executive session?
Move that we go into executive session for personnel.
We make a motion to go into executive session. If anybody's not going to be here when we come out, the next meeting will be January 20th at 1:30. Thank you.
And unless otherwise stated, subject to applicable personnel rules. Troy Johnson, project coordinator, will be granted 420 hours of discretionary advance time to be utilized intermittently. Charlette Jordan, a clerk, shall be granted 140 hours of discretionary time to commence her ability to use starting January 20th, 2015. Reginald Stark, VMT, is requesting 210 hours of discretion.
Can you keep it?
210 hours of discretionary advance time. Effective date for this granting of time will be retroactive to December 28, 2014. Reginald Stark, VMT with the board will be granted. We said Reginald Stark? All right, I got 2 of them. Sorry about that. Jeanette Brown, administrative assistant, will be granted 140 hours of intermittent advance time to be paid back with her accruals upon her return. Sandra Clapp, voting machine technician, will be granted 420 hours of discretionary advance time. Stephanie Volpe will be promoted to administrative assistant to replace Sheldon Fosberg at the outgoing salary. That promotion to take effective immediately, which would then be retroactive to Sunday or this coming Sunday?
This coming Sunday.
Okay, that would be Sunday the 11th, effective Sunday the 11th of January 2015. And Georgia Kontsamanis effective, her start date will be Sunday, January 25th, 2015. And that concludes all the actions in executive session.
Thank you. And I have a motion.
Motion.
Move to adjourn.
Did you introduce